There are some other things that I would like to say before I go into triple warmer more, is there's an energy system in the body that I call the grid, for lack of a better word for it, because I never learned it from somewhere. I just began to see it. And say you have been in therapy for years and years and years, and you've worked on your trauma and you've worked on everything so that everything can feel better, but you know something is still off. You've talked it all out, etc., but something is still off. Well, energy will be retained in there. And if the trauma is bad enough, you break your grid. It's like, think of the foundation of a building, the grid lines and the foundation of a building. Say one of those grid lines snapped in a building, and now the building might build up around it. Nobody knew that snap ever happened. But you're able to hold together pretty good, but you just don't have the life you might have. Plus, now that we've seen what's happened in Florida, with the building coming down, I mean, human beings fall apart after a while. They fall apart. And so the grid is another thing that happens. It's like you want to have that grid repaired. And well, every energy system in your body is affected, but triple warmer is the networker of everything, except for the heart. There's another meridian, circulation sex, that protects your heart. It protects your heart. But let things get bad enough, and then your heart can't be protected either.
Yeah, and when I think of triple warmer, I think of this engine that's revving up, and it's there to keep me safe. It's there to be hyper vigilant, hyper alert. Don't let me relax, because there might be danger. And then there comes a point, at least in my life, where it gives out. Like, it's exhausted all of the nutrients that it has. There's no more gas in the tank. And so it's still trying, but now it's gone from being stressed and anxious to just overwhelm and collapse. Absolutely. And that's where the spleen comes into place, right? Because then there really is no joy. There's no happiness, because there's nothing there. There is literally nothing left there. You're running on fumes.
You're running on fumes, and your other meridians aren't being fumed. They're not being fueled. They're not being fueled. And triple warmer keeps taking it. And so you've got the most important thing I feel anybody can do is work with their energies to get them balanced. So triple warmer, you want triple warmer to feel safe. If it feels safe, then it won't constantly turn on over nothing. Years and years ago, I used to work with people who were in overwhelm and burned out, and maybe trauma hit them too. And they were all overweight. I worked with 6 people who were very heavy. And actually the local hospital sent them my way because they couldn't lose weight on intravenous only. They couldn't lose weight. And every one of them had a story. Really terrible stories. But so we had to forget everything that you would think you would work on to lose weight. We just had to balance the energies. And what happened is that spleen can start burning the calories, and triple warmer won't fight it. And and the other thing is, if your body isn't getting the nutrients because triple warmer is taking it all, then you also have to eat more, or you have to eat because you need those nutrients to survive. So it's just, it's so important to get the energies balanced out.
Exactly. And like you say, until you do that, until a person does that, they're going to be stuck in their patterns, and whether that's their health patterns and their physical health symptoms or physical conditions, or even their mental health, or even their relationship patterns, right? Like this, it drives it all.
It drives it all. Like Einstein said, energy is all there is. There is nothing else. And we think we're solid, but we're really lattice works of force fields that have just gotten tighter and tighter. So we became physical, but it's really important, and it can save your life. I had a practice for 23 years before I just went on the road to teach people. And I would often be sent people who were last ditch efforts because doctors had given up and they'd given up. And it was a joy to stay curious about, okay, what isn't working? Why isn't it happening? And you always found the way in. And it is astonishing and wonderful to find out just how magical our bodies really are.
Mhm, mhm. And I think that's a tribute to really the work that you've done with your system, because I can't think of anything that kills curiosity more than a survival state, right? Like you can't be focused on your survival and stay curious about at the same time.
Yes, yes. Actually, when you're in survival, curiosity gets uh, turned off because fear will turn on when you're curious.
Yep.
You know, well, what could happen if this happened? And so yeah, yeah. So, but
Mhm.
I just promise you, find a way to learn everything you can about energy.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And that's exactly what I was able to lean into. And I cannot tell you how much of a shock it was for me to go from being a very conventional medicine trained physician to doing energy medicine. And yet what I was discovering in my body, and that what my body was able to tell me was invaluable. Like it really helped pull me out of that very low energy state and the overwhelm that I was in. So one question that I would love to have you comment on are the different types of trauma. Because there's lots of different types of trauma. There can be events that happen to us, but then there can be things that should have happened that didn't happen. Things like nurturing, things like protection, things like guidance. And most people wouldn't consider those things trauma, right? They're looking for a big T event, but it sometimes is the lack of what we needed that with enough time becomes a trauma to the body and still just as much of a hit to the energy field. Can you share a little on what you've seen in your practice?
Nobody has ever asked me that. Thank you, but it's very, very true. For instance, if you don't get the nurturing you need, triple warmer pays attention to that. That is going to have to even stay more on alert, more who's suspicious here and what, and also a lot of children very early on start analyzing their parents and what's going on and is it true and what should I do? How should I've got a 4-year-old grandson who is glorious, but I do see him. His strategies are starting up because that little alert in him has turned on. And yeah, I mean, and then if you have a lifetime of that, then your relationships are totally affected because you're not going to expect to be nurtured and taken care of and loved just for who you are. And I can tell you that if you can get spleen strong, spleen is not just a meridian, it is also a radiant circuit. And radiant circuits are what get closed down when triple warmer is too strong. And your radiant circuits are what make you feel awe and astonishment and thrill and all of those wonderful things when you look at a sunset. If you want to be able to turn that on easily just by life, that you want triple warmer even further down. And I in my life now and in my trainings, I triple warmer, I see that triple warmer must be evolved. It must be evolved. And so I'm more and more, teaching classes on how to evolve triple warmer so that, and what happens is underneath all that stress, people don't know that they have happiness underneath it. I mean, they're sometimes so surprised that there was joy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a sense of wonder and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I remember one of my recent 21-day journey programs that I ran, and we got to that part of joy. And when I started talking about joy and that part of us that can feel those positive emotions, and everybody's just kind of staring at me as if they had no idea what I was talking about, right? Like joy is not something that we experience a lot of, if anything at all, when we've been in overwhelm. And then it's like it becomes our habit, it becomes our default, where now it's just how our system is used to running. And so it'll continue to go back to that, even though we might be able to do differently. It's going to just default to what it knows to do. So bringing in spleen, strengthening it, and bringing in this joy is crucial to really thriving in life.
No, it is crucial. And when you do, your body works better.
Yeah.
your liver actually thrives. I've worked with some nurses who were able to do tests before and after, which was really fun. But your liver actually, it's like it gets reborn a little bit, and it's amazing. Your adrenals get stronger. Everything gets stronger in you from joy and also even curiosity, which people don't
Right.
think of, but it does. It's like I don't know. It's like a newness of a child thing, you know.
hmm hmm So you mentioned before protecting the heart. And when I'm working with people who've had these trauma patterns, right? And again, for me, I'm not looking for a story. I'm just looking at your nervous system and seeing what patterns do I see? Do I see patterns of fear and insecurity that are driving your health and your life? Or do I see patterns of safety and growth and curiosity? So when I'm looking at someone who's had these trauma patterns wired into their nervous system, a big part for many of them is this element of protection of their heart. And this has been actually for me an aspect where some of the weight gain and difficulty losing weight comes into play, because it's a sense of protection for the body, and being in the survival mode, it doesn't want to let go of anything. It wants to hold on to everything, right? And so talk to us about the powerful techniques that energy medicine can bring for giving us a sense of healthy protection of our heart.
You know, first of all, it's just for people to know that you already have a protector for your heart.
Yeah.
It's sometimes called circulation sex, sometimes it's called pericardium, but it wraps around your heart. And it is the only organ in the body that has its own protector. You know, every other organ has to protect itself, but not the heart. And the spleen also helps and protects the heart. And the spleen feeds the heart with a sense of safety. And there are two different wheels that, the way energy moves in the body, but the spleen is very important, and so is the pericardium.